You're listening to Cattywampus.
So Brian will not shut up about this movie, Mandy. Nicolas Cage starring Panos Cosmatos. Cosmatos is a David Cronenberg film. Panos Cosmatos, son of George P. Cosmatos, director of Stallone's Cobra. He needs us to watch this movie. And this is stupid. This is like the fifth one we've done. He needs to watch this movie, and we're making him watch other Nick Cage movies, and he hates it. And he hates all of them.
There are over 100 Nicolas Cage
Not all
movies.
of them.
I hate most of them.
He hates most of them. He hates a strong majority of them.
The ones that I do like, we're not watching.
We've watched.
It's like you're picking the worst ones.
Which ones do you like? Other than
I don't know. I like Mandy, and we'll watch it one day.
Obviously, Mandy is part of this. We can't watch it on the road to it. Get your head out of your ass, Brian.
I'm trying to think of what else I like, but as we watch these, I'm like, maybe I don't like these. We've watched a lot of shit.
Speaking of,
Yup.
The Trust, which is one of the many Nicolas Cage. I don't want to say just like straight to video, like, because I feel like this got a theatrical release in some places, possibly even here.
I don't think it did. It sounded like it got released in like Europe.
Well, it premiered at South by Southwest. It premiered at a festival.
Okay.
And Oscar Mayer presents movies, the festival.
I'm surprised I'd never heard of it. I mean, like, I guess I'm not, but I generally keep up with Nick Cage. Kind of.
I honestly hadn't heard of this movie.
I follow several clubs.
I follow him on Twitter.
I hadn't even heard of this movie until I watched it.
No.
The Trust, yeah.
I also hate the name.
It has nothing to do with the rest of the movie.
It has nothing to do with it. And
I mean,
all night I was like, is it the truth? The trust?
There is a hook.
What?
There is a central hook in the sense that, like, if only Elijah Wood had trusted him, which is, I guess, the tragic underpinnings of the film.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get to the end.
Or is it because, Elijah Wood trusts, like, that hostage?
I guess that's true too.
That was my first.
I mean,
thought.
Elijah Wood does trust the wrong person given the choices. Although
he should have trusted.
He
himself.
didn't really know that.
As a reasonable person, you would trust her and not Nicolas Cage, who's just murdering people left and right.
Yeah, I mean,
But that's just what Nicolas Cage does.
but he did get him exactly what he promised him. So maybe he should have trusted him.
Maybe you're right. This is the philosophical film for the ages.
The description said this was like a rogue cop film, but I failed to see how this
Rogue
is like,
evidence department officer.
Yeah.
Yeah, this did not feel like a rogue cop film as I've seen.
The only rogue cop in this whole movie was the guy from My Name Is Earl.
Who was the guy from My Name Is Earl?
When they went into the Chinese.
Ethan Suplee, yes.
The Cupcake Factory or whatever.
I know him as the man from the Butterfly Effect.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Same here, yeah.
I was like, yeah, he was the goth kid in the Butterfly
Well,
Effect.
in one universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That film's really just an acting reel for Ethan Suplee, if you think about it.
Pretty much.
Now
He
I'm
is
this
quite
character.
skilled.
And I was convinced that this whole thing was because of Cage's character being convinced that, the government's corrupt and this big crime ring is going on. And he's got to go above the law to try to stop this massive crime ring.
That's
and
kind
hit
of
him
what
where
they lead
hurt.
you to believe at first.
And then he just wants to take whatever's in that vault and go off like to Mexico or something. And I was like, no.
I assumed that immediately.
Yeah.
No.
This man is
He
not on the
wants-
up and up.
He just wants the money.
He's doing this for the right reasons. Just watch. Cage won't let me down. And then the last act is like, oh, by the way, I'm so sure of this. I got 2 tickets.
To San Juantaneo.
Yeah, like what?
Yes, you want the nail.
It's not that. It's just Shawshank Redemption will always make me think if you run to Mexico, you run to San Juantaneo. So you can live together on the beach, you and Morgan Freeman.
Making a boat.
And then
What a great movie.
and then going back a bit, like they're drilling through this, trying to drill into this safe, which is most of the movie is spent trying to drill into this.
Well, the
vault,
movie's actually
right?
divided in half pretty evenly of like the prep to do it, and then the actual act of starting from the beginning. Evidence management team of the Las Vegas Police Department, although they seem to be doing the job of the crime scene unit. It's
know.
really
I think
murky.
one of
I was very
Yeah.
confused at first.
So Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, for his boss, I guess he has to put this tractor aside.
A John Deere
He's
tractor.
just like, hey, go. My son-in-law's birthday or some shit's coming up. There's like a John Deere in here. Go look it over for me.
My favorite line in that scene is when the cop goes, "He's a really good guy." As if to be like, this will motivate you to go get this John Deere truck.
And then Cage just like wandering around the evidence room after that. It's like,
Yeah.
just put it aside. Chief's gonna want to pick it up later. You're like, no problem. Oh, check this out. It's this hollowed out engine block with these, cocaine packets
Yeah.
As the Pistons.
as the pistons.
Yeah.
Like, who would think to do this?
I also love how
would
they
they ever get
only
caught?
now just figured this out.
Like, oh wait,
Gloveless, everybody just touching shit. I'm like,
isn't this like in evidence? And then there's like this like moment where this guy opens up this fake piston and there's a giant bag of coke. Like, yeah, check this out. Isn't this cool? Cage is like, oh yeah. You need to submit that to evidence though. We need to process.
which is
that.
really weird because I'm like, aren't you guys evidence?
Why don't you take it?
Yeah,
need-
you need
why
to
isn't
submit
this-
that to us.
You need to process
yourself.
that. And the other guy's like, what? Why would I process? Okay, yeah, of course, boss.
You see, and if I were that guy, I'd be like, yeah, I'm telling you, my superior, right now about what I've found. This is how this works, right? I report to you all the shit I find here.
It's thanks to that shenanigan that our character for Kate. What's his name?
Copy McCopperson.
Nicholas Cage.
Nicholas Cop. Nicholas Cop goes and finds the paperwork for it.
Lieutenant Jim Stone.
Lieutenant
That's right.
that
It's
really it?
Jim.
Yes.
Oh my god.
It's
Jim.
Jim and
All right.
Elijah Wood's character is David.
David Waters, which, by the way, psychologically, very strange to hear Nicolas Cage yell my name a lot. David! David!
Oh my god, I remember
Dude.
that part. He's like, David.
David! Hey, David, I'm sorry. Sorry about earlier when I yelled at you, pointed a gun at you. He kind of sounds like Jimmy Stewart in this movie,
Yeah, he does actually.
I liked his mustache.
which was fake. Like that, but
It looked
which
fake.
obviously, but then there's too many close-ups of his face. Like in the first scene, there is a close-up of his face when he's like, he holds up the ashtray and he goes, "This is a very interesting ashtray," but it's so tight on his face that you can just see the glue, and you're like,
I saw the
"Oh,
glue.
What the fuck, guys?" Which also feels like it was supposed to set up something because Nicolas Cage, talks about the ashtray and how this like it's the key to this scene, and then Elijah Wood keeps going, "I need to smoke" at the scene. I'm like, "Oh, it's gonna come back." No.
Missed opportunity.
So anyway, Nicolas Cage finds out this guy bailed out on cash, basically, or something like that.
$200,000 cash.
Yeah.
Grand.
Well, then he goes home to Jerry Lewis, who's in this movie. This is his final film, which is baffling.
What you know what a good cop would do? You know what a good cop would know exactly what to do. Like, okay, like what? Thanks, Dad. Is that their relationship?
I assume that's his father, right?
Yeah, it's kind of implied but never explicitly stated. And
Yes.
and then he gets David tangled up in his.
Yeah, so Elijah Wood. So also intercut with all this is Elijah Wood, who is an evidence management officer. I guess they're implying he's recently divorced. Seems to be the implication, and he's
down on his luck.
He's down on his luck. He's late to work. He's Sergeant David Waters. I don't actually. So it's just, Nick Cage basically just walks up to him and goes, "Want to commit some crime?"
Yeah, they're like hanging out at the bar, and he's like, "Try this lemon."
That's
and
right.
hot sauce."
He takes him to a bar and demands he take a wedge of lemon
Yeah.
and pour hot sauce on it and eat it as their bit of business. First of all, Nicolas Cage has about 7 bits of business in this scene because there's the whole thing how he can't get his coffee refilled. There's the whole thing where it's like, is that guy jacking off? I can't tell because he's eating. And then there's the whole thing of the lemon hot sauce thing.
Yeah.
And this is like such a like Tarantino wannabe scene because it's like you're giving your character a bit of business as you're trying to get through exposition, but Nicolas Cage has like 4 bits of business.
and none of them really mean anything.
Nope.
No.
Like,
Yeah, the lemon and hot sauce thing was just like, what's the goal here?
he finally does it, and he's like, "You like that shit?" And he's like, "No, it's
No,
fucking
no,
terrible."
it tastes terrible. Now let's go outside and continue our exposition.
It's now that I think about it, though, it may actually be one of those moments where he's trying to see how far he can manipulate him.
I think you're right, and I think that's all Nick Cage. Like,
Yeah.
Nick Cage, none of that is written.
No.
Except for the guy being jacked off, because obviously they had an extra there. But it feels like Elijah Wood was clearly never told what Nick Cage was going to do. Because you could tell that Elijah Wood is, like, trying to keep up. Not like he's doing a bad job, but, like, you could tell that, like, Elijah Wood is, like, behind the curve in terms of Nick Cage, like, clearly just going off script and doing whatever.
It's really strange to me because I feel like I liked their chemistry, but it's like they didn't have chemistry. It's just like I don't.
By design, yeah, by design, like it is like Elijah Wood's doing his best to follow the train of logic of Nicolas Cage, which is what the character is trying to do
Yeah.
to the other character.
I would like to see both of them together in a better movie.
which I guess gets to the point where this is ostensibly a black comedy.
I was laughing a lot.
I liked the score in the sense that it was clearly tacked on later to be like, this has to play funnier. not
Don't
funny.
you love it when the score is retconning the mood?
Oh, this is a movie that was clearly changed drastically in post. Where you're just like, what? So wait, what happens next? They buy a drill from some Germans who seem to know what they're doing.
They go meet the random Germans, and they make the phone call to Germany.
They make the phone call to
And
Germany.
And Germany's just like, oh, it's a bank robber.
He's like, that's
He's
so
so
cool.
I'm just like, what?
And they need money for the drill. So Nick Cage mortgages his house, and Elijah Wood needs to go on a dirty drug bust with Ethan Suplee, who is what I can only describe as a sociopathic detective.
Something like that.
He's the bad cop in this bad cop movie.
So more than once, they do this weird deliberate shot of him pulling out his backup pistol and fake playing Russian roulette, which I really thought was going to be... Again, there's a lot of stuff in Act 1 where I'm like, Chekhov's backup pistol. You've shown it to me twice deliberately. Even Suplee's going to come into Act 3. No, it never happens. No, never.
Yep.
Waste of time. And so that's how he gets indeterminately. He gets the money for the drill. Nick Cage needs guns, and then he kills the gun dealer, and that's like your first turn of,
You're like,
Nick
wait.
Cage is like fucked up.
He kills him because he spat on him.
Well, no.
No,
Kills
that
the
was
gun
later.
dealer.
The gun dealer, he kills
right.
him because
Bobo.
he wants the
Yeah.
guns, and the gun dealer's being an asshole.
That's right. Yeah, that was the random, like, holy shit. He just, like, blows him in the... Or shoots him in the head.
Pretty sure it's because the dealer threatened to blow his brains out if he didn't shut up. And so when they finally stop, he's like, okay, yeah, look, these are really cool.
Yeah.
Fuck you, you're dead.
I read it as it's like, oh, you're just insane. Like, your plan all along is to kill everybody. And I think the movie's goal is to create the seed of doubt and put you on Elijah Wood's side of, oh, he is just going to kill everybody and take the money. Like, no one's getting out but Nick Cage, and that's his plan all along. That's how I kind of read it, because it's so premeditated. Because he already knew he was going to do it because the bullets were in the glasses case.
Yeah.
So I think it's supposed to, again, you're trying to prevent the trust from forming. I'll leave now.
But what reinforces that for me is that later on when they have hostages and one of them spits on Jim,
Yeah.
and then the screen just cuts
Jim
to
Stone.
Jim Stone. And then we cut to Elijah Wood, going outside, taking all the heavy equipment in, comes back in, and all of a sudden that dude that just spat on Jim is dead. Like, oh yeah, he went for me.
He went at me.
Yeah, what? With his hands like tied to his girlfriend or whatever?
He was
like-
going to bite him.
He ran into my bullet.
He ran in. Yeah.
With his chest.
He fell on all these bullets.
I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry, David.
I'm sorry, David.
I'm sorry, David. He fell into my gun.
He fell into the bullet.
He fell into my gun 6 times. Then I had to reload, and he fell into my gun again.
Yep. Yeah, so it's pretty clearly stabbed. He doesn't like being disrespected, which adds a lot of tension to every time David yells at him.
Elijah
It's just like,
Wood.
ooh, is Jim gonna snap and kill Elijah Wood? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
it's interesting because, like, when he's like, oh, I didn't get the van, and Elijah Wood freaks out at him, and he pulls out the keys and goes, just a little pre-heist joke.
calm down, David.
And then they get in. Nicolas Cage shoots the hostage and feeds Elijah Wood some story. There's this woman played by Sky Ferreira. So at this point, the drill fails? What's the
No,
next
they're
thing?
using the drill. They're getting through. The security guard shows up.
Stephen Williams X himself from the X-Files.
Yep. They're drilling through. They stop to eat dinner.
Well, that's set up
It's
in
like, it changed the recipe.
that's set up in an earlier scene.
The reservoir.
Because earlier Nick Cage is talking about that cheesesteak place with a guy in the evidence room, and he's like, they have the best cheesesteaks. The guy's like, oh, so good.
like,
And Nicolas Cage
the way
goes,
the
so good.
The way the bread wraps, I can't remember what he said.
Yeah,
Cheese
and then
cheese
they
on the
melts.
bread. Blah, blah.
Elijah Wood's asking him legitimately serious questions about their crimes, and Nicolas Cage goes, they changed the recipe. Meets my approval. And he keeps eating. They spend a lot of time on just them drilling.
Yeah.
With like not a lot going on.
It's like 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, it's like the centerpiece of the movie. Then the drill fails, and they only have like a 1/4 inch left.
I was very reminded of the bank job during that. I don't know, same shit. There's
The Jason Statham film? I can't say that I've seen it.
At some point, I just thought, is this like Payday the
You-
Heist, the
See,
shitty movie?
I was minded of Rafifi, the classic crime film in which a man breaks in for the ceiling of a bank.
The bank job, like half the movie is them drilling.
No, let's keep talking about the bank job. That's great. Rafifi, the bank job, same diff.
I've never seen that, so
Yeah,
I don't know
exactly.
what that is.
The belt's
Why
not.
can't they just go to Sears and get another belt?
It's middle of the night.
So,
I don't know. Well, anyway, they're a quarter inch away, so they decide to use a sledgehammer. They get through. They break the combination. Elijah Wood, I guess because he's already in a mistrusting way, decides to not share the combination. He writes it down and removes it so that Nicolas Cage doesn't know it. I don't know why.
Well, he does it later.
He leaves it on the door.
He leaves it on the door, but he opens the door. He gets down there. He's like, "You should come see this." They find out that it's full of diamonds and gold and really expensive shit. That's scary. Yeah,
not just the cash they thought it was.
Yeah,
be
it's
for a
scary
drug
shit
operation.
that only scary people would have.
Yeah.
And then
It's
when
a very
they go,
fancy safe.
Yeah, basically, they thought they were walking into a 2-bit drug operation, steal, maybe at most a couple million or something, basically rip off some drug dealers. And instead, they've basically hit an international cartel. Elijah Wood's like, we should walk away while we still can. Nicolas Cage basically reveals he kind of already knew it was this.
No, Elijah Wood's like, you already knew, because he has like exactly the right amount of
Yeah.
bags.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he has everything needed to take everything in that room.
Cage has cased this way more thoroughly.
And then
than he
Cage is like,
reveals.
no,
I just got bags.
I'm just prepared. I'm just prepared, and you're scared, and that's okay, but I'm not scared. We should take it all, David.
Let's get the money. I've already got the tickets. Let's get out of here.
And then at this point, Sky Ferreira basically needs to call her kid, and she's like terrified. She's seen Nick Cage's face. Nick Cage has tried to shoot her. Elijah Wood writes down the number on his hand, dials it for her, and she ostensibly talks to her kid. Elijah Wood closes the safe and removes the combination, and basically tells Nick Cage that he tries to take control of the situation and tries to get Nicolas Cage to walk away, which leads to the only scene of this movie I had seen in like GIF form and clip form, which is Nicolas Cage pushing Elijah Wood up against the safe with a gun going, open the safe. Open it! Open it! Open it! Open it! 9 times in a row. Throws him to the ground, puts a gun to his head, cut to black, and you're like, what happened? And then you just cut to them in the safe. Because I guess the commercial breaks over. And previously on The Trust.
I was dying.
yeah, that was
So
great.
great. It's definitely... Nicolas Cage is keeping this movie alive. Anything that works about it is Nicolas Cage. Like it is the most by the numbers generic heist movie with all the plot holes of a heist movie and all the missing pieces to make it not compelling. But Nicolas Cage is doing his best to make this interesting whenever he's on screen.
I like Elijah Wood in it too.
Yeah, Elijah Wood's good in it too. Like Elijah Wood, by the nature of it, has to be the straight man to Nicolas Cage's fucking craziness. Yeah. So they're packing up the safe. He basically gets into the room with Sky Ferreira, holds the gun up, and is ready for Nicolas Cage to come back in. Nicolas Cage walks and goes, David, I'm sorry about how I blew up at you earlier. And then he shoots Nicolas Cage in the neck. There's a shootout. Nicolas Cage dies. And tragically, he is searching Nicolas Cage's pockets and pulls out the tickets only to find that they're in fact 2 tickets to Mexico. He was never going to kill Elijah Wood. They were going to live together in happiness in Mexico for the rest of their lives.
They could have had Coronas on the beach together for the rest of their lives.
Building a boat in San Juanejo.
I dig you, man.
Elijah Wood puts everything back, puts Sky Ferreira in the van, and basically goes, if you do everything I say, you're going to live. They drive up north. 2 vans circle him. The phone number on the back of the van is the phone number on Elijah Wood's hand. Oh no, she wasn't an innocent bystander.
She broke the trust.
She is part of this cartel, and they flat out murk Elijah Wood. Yeah. That's it.
He holds up his cop badge. He's like, I'm a cop, don't do it.
Yeah.
And then 1 bullet in the head, and the movie pretty much.
And then his badge is put into evidence.
Yeah, the whole movie was about them trying to get this money to get out of the job they hated, I'm assuming. And now they're stuck there for eternity.
Oh no, Elijah Wood explicitly states he hates that job.
Yeah.
Now, was he talking about his role in the movie, or was he talking about his job as an evidence officer? We don't know, and it doesn't really matter.
Elijah Wood was telling the producers off camera, and they caught it.
That wasn't in the script. Just go with it. It's fun.
So it is Elijah Wood and Nicolas Cage's badges that go into evidence, right?
Yeah. Which again, if the movie had set this up, it's like if you have an Act 3 problem, you really have an Act 1 problem. Act 1 sets up a completely different movie that involves Ethan Suplee and these other things that we're spending time on. This is a good Nick Cage performance, in the sense that it really keeps the movie watchable. I mean, the movie itself is like trash. There's nothing to it.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but there's nothing to it.
I don't know. But
there's nothing, and it's long.
How long is it?
Well,
it's 90 minutes.
It's only 90 minutes, but
was gonna say,
it's so slow.
It's about 60 minutes too long.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it flew by
53
for me.
minutes to get to the goddamn drill.
I enjoyed it more than I should have.
Well, yeah, but I think that's because of Nick Cage's performance.
Yeah.
Like, this is a movie that actually is helped by having Nick Cage, where I think we have watched a lot of movies where it should not have been Nick Cage. I think this is a really good use of Nick Cage. He's not the main character. The problem with Next to Knowing is you're weighing the emotional arc of your story around him. That's not his strong suit. His strong suit is to be a weird force of nature within the movie. In Next, he should be the weird FBI agent who's like, I've been studying it my whole life. This man can travel back in time. I've seen it. I'm going after him. How great would the movie be if Elijah Wood could go back in time 2 minutes and Nicolas Cage was after him?
Well, David, you have yourself a movie.
It's time to reboot Next.
Ugh. The
Next to
Golden Man.
Next
Oh,
to
that,
King.
so
Electric
Elijah
Boogaloo.
Wood in my version, it's more accurate to the source material. So Elijah Wood seduces Nick Cage and impregnates him with a new Golden Man.
I'd still watch it.
I think I've made myself quite the art house film. It's like Holy Motors, but with Elijah Wood and Nicolas Cage.
So what else do we have on The Trust?
I think that's The Trust. Is
I
anyone?
mean, that's
Cage carries the movie. It doesn't really stand out. There's some good one-liners, I guess.
Great mustache.
they
Great
changed
fake
the
mustache.
recipe.
Great
Yeah,
fake
not much
We
else to
left
say
without
about it.
really much closure.
I mean, that was there was closure in that movie.
It's worth.
I mean, everyone's dead.
Yeah,
it's worth a watch. Unlike the other piece of shit we watched,
So the following year, he makes a movie that actually got some buzz.
which I don't understand.
I understand how it gets buzz coming out of a
Is the
festival.
concept the reason it got buzz?
Well, the concept's nothing new, but it premiered at TIFF, and it got buzz coming out of TIFF.
Gotcha.
So we watched Mom and Dad from Brian Taylor, who's half of Neville Dean Taylor. For anyone who doesn't know, half the equation of Crank, Crank 2, Gamer, and Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance. I believe he's responsible for Happy on Sci-Fi Channel, the Grant Morrison adaptation, which explains something in this movie I did not see coming.
kind of caught me off guard.
So Mom and Dad is your classic take on the Screwfly solution, which is a short story. A signal goes out, and all of the men in the world try to kill all of the women. And the reason, in the end of that story reveals that the signal is actually from an alien race who's trying to reduce the population before they take the planet. And obviously, if all the men kill all the women, there's no more reproduction. The reason it's called the Screwfly solution is because we actually invented a way to limit the Screwfly population by creating a radio signal that confused the males. So they tried to, what's the most delicate way to put this? They tried to commit intercourse on the wrong end of the female, killing them.
Jeez.
They're flies a lot. I mean, Twilight Zone's done it.
There's a movie called The Signal.
Yes, there's a movie called Who Could Kill a Child, which this film is very inspired by. It's literally the reverse of Who Could Kill a Child. All the children try and kill all the parents on an island.
all this is based off of an actual thing.
I mean, it's all riffing on an actual thing. There's no, like, adapted by credit, but it's one of those things
The
where...
Screwfly Solution's a legitimate thing.
The Screwfly solution... Oh, you're talking about, this natural story is based on a real thing we did to flies? Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a science to the sci-fi, and that we've actually done this.
Yeah.
And that's why it's horrifying.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's sort of what this movie is trafficking in, and also anything like that also traffics ultimately in just riffing on the original Night of the Living Dead.
Yep.
Which also is because even though it's not zombies, it's the exact same theory, it's the exact same structure,
Yep.
and you have the exact same archetypes of that original. I mean, the word zombie existed before Night of the Living Dead, but the zombie, as you know, it comes from Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
This was more like a coherent 28 Days Later rage. Like, I mean, the only thing you really need to know is that the parents want to kill their own children. That's it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not other.
Although
like-
Nicolas Cage has no problem trying to kill the boyfriend.
That's because he was in the way.
And then Selma Blair Selma Blair goes out of her way to kill her mother-in-law.
Hey,
That's because she was trying to kill her husband.
Yeah.
But then what? That doesn't track.
So
They
yeah,
literally-
there's some issues here.
It's
for
so why
sure.
don't-
Regardless
so why
of
don't-
the issues, the movie's shit.
Yeah. No matter what the issue is with the cohesiveness of the movie, it's still hot trash.
So Cage's character, I think, is shown being abusive towards his wife in one of the first scenes in Act 1.
well, emotionally abusive,
Yeah.
yes, in a flashback. Which, by the way, halfway through the movie, flashbacks start. Which
I
is
wanted to die.
a weird choice.
I did not like that at all. I was like, take me back into the action. Fuck off with this flashback.
So this movie is a good example of the trailer showing me everything I wanted to see, and then the rest of the movie being absolute shit. The first time I saw the trailer for this movie, I was kind of excited, just to see what Nicolas Cage would do. But then it turns out that the scenes in the trailer are only like 5 minutes of the entire movie.
So this movie makes a really big decision structurally, and I think it's the biggest problem with the movie. In a movie like this, it makes no sense to give Nicolas Cage and Selma Blair as much screen time as you do, because they are ultimately going to be infected by something that's going to remove their agency. So at a certain point in the movie, they're going to stop being characters on a journey and become vessels of a disease. So in a movie like this, it makes way more sense to only follow the kids. This movie should be called Damon Meets His Girlfriend's Parents. and it really should be about, like, that should be your metaphor. Because, like, if you think about, like, Night of the Living Dead or Dawn of the Dead, it makes sense that the world is slow to react. But you're following a group of characters who have some agency. You have Ben in Night of the Living Dead, and you have, I don't remember Ken Voorhees' character in Dawn of the Dead, but you have characters who are like, hey, this is happening. I'm ahead of the curve. Here's my plan. And the only person in this movie who has that is Damon, the boyfriend of their teenage daughter, where he gets it really quickly. He's like, okay, this is happening. I got to go get her. I go get her and be like, we can't go back. Well, my brother's there. Okay, we'll go back and get the brother. Like, there's a plan. But the problem is they're not the main characters, really.
They really should be.
They should be. Yeah, they should be.
I really thought that this was going to be a kid zombie movie where the zombies were the pets.
Yeah. Which is, that's the easiest way to make this movie.
And it would have been fine.
And part of me is like, once you got Nicolas Cage and Selma Blair, did you go, well, we got to use them, and that's why we have so much extra business with them? The other side to it is, and I do think this is interesting in the movie, is I liked the half-baked idea, if they had developed it further, that once they get infected, they rekindle their love for each other by trying to murder their children.
Right.
Their marriage, like the reason we cut back to 3 weeks ago, halfway through the movie, is to show what their marital problems are and how they don't feel like they're individuals anymore. They're just mom and dad.
Would you stay married to Nicolas Cage after the sledgehammer?
No.
No.
But in her defense, she does go to her old flame to try and get a new job, so you could infer that she's on her way out.
Yeah.
But you could also make that movie. But that movie needs to be way more self-contained. Like, that movie needs to be like Shaun of the Dead. You see some stuff on TV, but you never cut outside to other people. You stay more or less within the house. And it is about their failing marriage and how they're really bonding. Like, that's a cool idea, like, twisted idea for a horror movie, which is, it's a love story about two people who plot to murder their children. That's a twisted, interesting thing that actually could, if you delved into it, would be really cool and really cool, really emotionally complicated, and kind of have that sick, twisted fun of a 70s, grindhouse film, which this movie kind of wants to have.
But instead, they scratched the surface and never got further.
Yeah, well, the problem is they've mashed the two movies I've just described together.
Yeah.
It's Damon meets his girlfriend's parents, and mom and dad kill their kids. And it's like you're intercutting them, and it doesn't work. And that's the biggest problem with the movie. And the movie's also only like 80 minutes, so both
feels
things
like
are
7 hours.
Both things are completely half-baked. Like, they're not fully formed ideas at all.
I think probably my least favorite effect they tried to do was when mom and daughter were in the car and they were driving. Yeah, they were driving.
Oh, the
and for some
transparent.
reason they had the transparent, like it was on the window of the car. Her
Yeah.
text messages that were going through.
The text messages, the Instagram.
No, it was
feed.
between the two of them. It's like
Get it, Steve?
Yeah, her being
That's
on the
even worse.
her
He's
being
an
on
art.
the,
Brian Taylor's an artist.
her being on the cell phone was the divider between the two of them. Why she couldn't connect with her mother.
I really hate how all the characters are written. And if you're familiar with the Crank movies, it's like this movie is about the annoying side characters in the Crank movies.
I think Crank only works because most of the
Jason
time
Statham.
it's literally like you focus on Jason Statham, he kills a bunch of weird people,
Yeah.
and the movie's over.
Well, Jason Statham
it's fine.
brings an energy like Chelios brings that's the name. It's like a bullet through the movie.
Yeah.
It's a goal
it
thing. So
works.
everybody else is like an annoying side character. Well, this
Yeah.
movie's about those annoying side
Yeah.
characters.
Whereas Mom and Dad is about way too many fucking characters, and they do nothing. Mom and Dad is probably my least favorite movie we've watched.
It's probably my least favorite movie.
It was really tough to get through.
I
trying
feel
to
like I've
think.
seen worse.
Also, Mom and Dad's biggest problem is the ending is there's no ending.
Awful.
There's no ending, which of course
Awful.
sours your entire experience, because maybe at the very least, if you had come to some thematic conclusion, you would have been like, all right, well, this was shitty, but you gave me something.
I kind of expected the kids just to shoot their parents.
Yeah, I was like, just kill them.
Just kill them and the cycle's over, and maybe you become infected when you're older. Who knows?
Well, I mean, once your parents are dead, you're safe, right? Because the other parents don't want to kill you. So end it.
That's some of the moments in the movie that are cool. Like, so one of the things that's set up in Act 1 that pays off is their grandparents are coming over for dinner. So it's Nick Cage's parents. And I remember thinking when the movie started and they say that, I'm like, okay, Act 3 better be the grandparents trying to kill Nick Cage. And sure enough, it was.
That was when I heard that doorbell, I went, oh, now it just got interesting.
I didn't know it was going to be Lance Hendrickson, so that was a nice surprise.
That was a highlight.
That was honestly one of the only good parts of the whole movie is him opening the front door and then his mom just spraying him with
pepper
mace.
spray and fucking taser.
The best part of this movie, the best thing this movie did for cinema is I got to see Lance Hendrickson with a fanny pack, and then he pulled a knife out of the fanny pack and gutted Nicolas Cage. This movie is terrible, but it is worth it for Lance Hendrickson removing a knife from a fanny pack and stabbing Nicolas Cage. I never ever thought I wanted to see that. I never thought I would see anything like that. Now I've seen it, and I'm like, I'm pretty happy with this. That's a GIF I want on my phone at the ready at all times.
That talk after the whole, or during the whole grandparents thing, when they're in the garage with the car, and you cut to Nicolas Cage and the son talking about, there's a pushing magnet.
Dad,
touch my car again, I'll fucking kill you.
But really, I'll fucking kill you.
This is a pushing magnet. Dad, sorry, son, chick magnet. My favorite thing was when Lance Hendrickson's gutting him, and then he sees the grandson. He goes, "Hey, slugger!" And I thought that is cool. Like, that's a cool aspect to this movie is that they only have it for their kids. So, like, literally, the dude sees his grandkids, and it's like he's grandpa again. Yeah. Like I actually thought that was really cool. And that's the kind of stuff that, again, in a movie that was more focused on this house,
in a good movie,
where the grandparents show up at the beginning of Act 3 as opposed to like right at the end, you can really play with some of that dynamic and the fact that you have this triangle of people trying to murder each other but not trying to murder anybody else, stuck in this sort of cyclone of a house. Like, that's when the movie got really interesting, but it's like a 5-minute scene. Also, the CGI was terrible, but I really enjoyed the slow motion shot of the grandma going over the sunroof.
Yeah.
I thought that was
so cheesy.
Awesome. I was like, yeah.
Oh, I clapped. I
was like, see, and that's why I'm like, no, I don't like this movie, but
Sawzall.
It's Sawzall.
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 That literally was the fucking open it scene. It was just different lines, same delivery.
Anyway, so there's not much of a plot. I mean, really, there's Nick Cage gets blown up at one point. But it has Daffy Duck ash on his face.
Yep.
No real discernible burns.
For a second, I really
Fruit
thought
Loops
this
stuck on his
movie
face.
was going to turn into Home Alone.
Yeah, it
Kind of
did.
For a minute.
Yeah. Also, if you talk about funny Nick Cage lines, so there's the Sawzalls, and at one point he just goes, "Motherfucker!"
Yes.
And that really made me laugh.
It was better than that movie too.
So anyway, Dr. Oz showed up.
Oh God.
Yeah, Dr. Oz cameos in this movie, which I wrote notes, and my first note my note at this point is, oh, they got Dr. Oz, and then my next note in all caps, forget Dr. Oz. What the fuck is Grant Morrison doing in this movie? Comic book writer Grant Morrison has more lines of dialogue than possibly the younger son, because he has a monologue on television to explain the phenomenon, and it is comic book writer Grant Morrison. I don't understand. I guess it's because they did Happy together. But, like, that's so weird. Like, why would you get... It's weird to me. I'll tell you another thing this movie did well. The daughter gets back... I don't remember any character names, and it doesn't matter. The daughter tries to get back to rescue her little brother. And the little brother's terrified under the backpack because the maid has already killed her daughter. And he's like, I need my backpack. And she's like, who the fuck cares about your backpack? And it turned out to be Chekhov's backpack, because this kid pulls a fucking handgun out of the backpack and puts one in his dad's chest. And I'll admit, pretty good payoff. Or no, one in his mom's chest.
No, in her arm.
In her arm, yeah.
Sorry.
He shoots it through the door a couple times and hits the mom in the arm.
But I thought that was pretty good.
And then they have the flashback to hit the kid in his underwear finding the gun and then like doing poses and shit.
It was basically
with it.
you talking to me. It was basically Taxi Driver.
What'd you set the combination lock to? Oh, it's his birthday.
Oh yeah, that was a good joke. Oh, Jason's birthday.
Oh.
Cuts to the kid with the gun. Also, why does the movie keep injuring Damon? I noticed the kids get away unscathed, the children.
I don't know, but
the boyfriend Damon,
he
should be
I kept thinking he was down for the count.
He gets like two concussions. He gets a fucking metal wire through his cheek.
A broken spine.
Yeah, he goes off of a second-story balcony, bings off the he fucking like Titanics off the arm rail and then crashes through a couch. He still is able to get up, get a club, and take it to Selma Blair.
Now, to his credit, every time he gets knocked down, it takes him a while to get back up. Everybody keeps assuming he's dead, including me, the audience.
Yeah, rightfully so.
He should have been dead.
His respawn timer kept getting like shorter though. I noticed that.
Yeah, well,
I am more powerful than ever before.
adrenaline kept kicking in the more he got injured.
Well, because that first one, like Nicolas Cage kind of fucks him up.
I mean, he basically cracks his skull open.
Yeah, on the tile floor.
My favorite was the
this
grandparents.
This is a good example of a movie where the highs are way higher than the other movie we watched, but the lows are so much lower. The Trust is overall a more even film, but the stuff that I liked in Mom and Dad, I liked a lot more than the stuff I liked in The Trust, and the stuff that I hated in Mom and Dad, I hated a lot more than the stuff I didn't like in The Trust.
Especially the ending. The ending
The
of
lack
this
of one.
movie, oh my god.
We both love you, but sometimes we just wanna credits.
Credits.
Dubstep.
Sometimes we just want to what?
We just want to dubstep.
Sometimes you just want to dance.
The worst part of the movie is the soundtrack from Mr. Bill.
What the fuck was up with the soundtrack and the
It's
wacky
just-
sound effects?
That's literally the soundtrack to Gamer, to Crank 2.
So-
I mean, that's how those movies
so
are.
the Mr. Bill thing.
Well, no, I didn't even know who the fuck he was. I saw Mr. Bill and I just went, oh no!
That's
Oh,
what
it's
I'm
a
talking
Saturday Night
about.
Live animated. It was an animated film from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, no, but I was like, why did we all talk about Mr. Bill? Like, what?
What do you mean?
I'm trying to remember what part of the movie brought that up.
He scored Mom and Dad.
So Mr. Bill, not the claymation. Oh,
No, he's named himself after the claymation
All right.
sketch. Where are we losing you?
Okay, that's interesting.
Kind of like how Nick Cage's son's name is Kal-El, but he's not actually Superman.
I'm so confused.
How are you?
The same way I'm not the King David of the Judaic religion. I'm just
Wait, what?
named after him. Technically, I'm named after David Carradine, but my mother will not admit it. But my grandmother filled me in.
All right.
So no, I'm just saying.
Apparently,
so,
my mother loved Kung Fu.
so there's Mr. Bill, the character.
Yes.
And then there's
There's a-
Mr. Bill, the musician.
There's a DJ who's named himself
after.
that.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it. Done.
You've been listening to Cattywampus. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr at CattyWampusPod. Email us at cattywampuspodcast@gmail.com. Music by Tilly.